And I look at this. This is a collage artist. His name is Ryan Durrell Nelson. And, you know, when you see something you like, you just pick up the name and you put it into your clipboard. And if it's an artist, it's because a lot of people have the same names. So it's good to put the word artist. And then you come up to get to his portfolio. And this is his portfolio. And so often what it is that it's usually, some of the times it's the most current work that they're doing. So he's a collage artist for commercial purposes. So I found him in the New York Times, and the New York Times always have really cutting edge artists doing work for them. And he is, you know, nothing, his work looks nothing like what I just showed you, right? From the one that we just came from. And so his collage work. So that's where, you know, it's fun to see, you know, here's an example of a grid, right? Which is what we're doing in our assignment, that you can begin to assemble as a work of art. And that's what you're working on. So I'm going to try to find his commercial page because this is his fine art page, clearly. But he also is that commercial artist that I was just showing you before. So let's go to Photoshop. Where are we in Photoshop? Here we go. Okay, so I talked about how you bring in the different files. So for instance, this one here is a large size, and it is 150 as I have changed it. And on Jake here, I want you to see the difference when you bring something in. So when you're compositing more images, so if we go to my layers, everything is in Windows, you know, as far as the tools are concerned. And again, when you have something open like this, it's going to be locked. And of course, you double click it and it unlocks it. Now, there's two ways to bring in images into Photoshop. First of all, you want to look at the existing size, and it's 150. So whatever you're bringing into an existing document, it's critical that you make that other document, that incoming image, the same resolution as the composite, the final composite. So when Jake made this image, he made sure that everything he brought in was of 150 resolution. And I'll show you how you can be able to change that. So the different ways to bring in multiple pictures into one. One was that bridge that I showed you earlier this morning, but that really gets everything compressed into one. And that's only good when you have the same images taken with the camera, because you know they're all the same resolution. It's when you're bringing in different sources into your file. And that is, there's two ways. One is this way, which is place embedded or place linked. Does anybody want to give a guess about what's the difference between place embedded and place linked? So this is where we get a little further into our understanding of tools. So place embedded means that whatever you're bringing in, one image at a time, it's going to force that image to be the size that you've brought it into. And it's in there. And if you bring that file to any other location other than your computer, that file will be there. Linked means, and why do we use linked? Linked is a terminology that means that it's not really in there. It's looking at that image that is in some folder that you have brought it in from. And the reason why the studio and why Adobe has that there is if you have an image that someone else is working on, say you're working in a studio and you're doing a composite layout, but the person who's doing the image is not done yet with it, you can bring in a placeholder. And it's always coming from the same folder. And so you can make changes, and when you open up this file, those new changes will be there. So we like that a lot, that it's something that it's there, but I can still keep working on it, and if I open it, it will show my last edit. That's not going to be important to us in this class, but I want you to be aware of when you see something in software that, and Adobe has this often, embedded or linked, that's what that means, is that it's bringing it in accurately and it's there physically, but linked means it's looking at it, it's a preview of something. So when I bring something in like this, if I do place embedded, watch what happens. I'll bring in this big, large picture that I know is large. And when I place it, look what it does. It forces the image to be scaled down and fit into that page. Now that may not be what I want, because I might want it to come in big because I want the composition to be big in the file. So that's one way of bringing another image in. As you can see, it's a layer too, right? Right here, it is a layer. So I'm going to say no, which is up here. No, I don't want this because I'm going to show you another way to bring in the second image into your composite. So I'm going to say no. And the other way is if I bring the tab down, mouse down and bring the tab right here. So all of these are tabs, right? And so if I want to bring in the image the way it is, this is how we do it. So watch, I'm going to make sure that the resolution is the same as Jake's composite. It's 150. Now, if it was 72, I would change it to 150. So remember this image, the one here, Jake's is 150. So when you're bringing in multiple pictures into one composite, it's critical that you change the resolution to match what you're putting into. So I did check that. It does match. And what you want to do is you want to take your move tool and you mouse down here and then you drag and drop it into here. So now you see it's bigger than the place embedded. And at this point I can now say, I'll close this out. No, I don't want to save it. And so now I have my two images and I have it the big size that I want it to be. So that's all I'm speaking about right now, is how you bring in multiple pictures into one. If they're from different sources, you've got to check the resolution, and of course that's always image size. Does anybody know the difference between image size and canvas size?
The image size is your actual picture size, and the canvas size is the space you have to work with on.
Exactly, it's like your paper.
Yep.
It is the deliverable, right? It is the one that you have set up, proper resolution, proper color system, and everything. And so if you need that, so when you're working for yourself, you have the advantage to go, you know, I want some more space. So you can come up here and you can change that. So this will give you the ability to change the paper size or the web page size or whatever the deliverable is. And so you can come up here and you go inches and you can say 22. Now, if I need more room to the right, then I would plot the space here so that it would give me more room on the bottom and so forth. And then I'll change this to 16 and it will give me room on the bottom. And then if I say okay, and then I zoom out so you can see this fit on screen, zoom out a little bit more. You can see that it expanded my page. It did not distort the image. So that's really critical and important to see, to do that. And so when you start out, like you're going to do, so when you do your final grid assignment, we're going to be working in inches, and we're going to be working with 13 by 19. Now you can change this to be horizontal or vertical, that's up to you. You also can either work in 300 or you can work in 150, that's up to you. Just remember 300 is a better quality and 150 is stable. It will print well and it will be fine for web. But 300 is ideal, but I don't know your space on your computer, so I'm just going to say 150 as far as I'm concerned, because I'm only looking at things that are on your computer. And then the other thing is we're going to keep it to be RGB. Anybody want to tell me that difference between RGB and CMYK quickly?
The RGB is for digital and the CMYK is for print.
Print, exactly. So it's important to remember that. So we're going to keep it RGB. And the thing to remember always is transparency. You can always make a layer that has background color. So you always want it to be transparent. So you always want to see that grid, that pixel grid that they give you. And again, these are all your parameters in understanding. So if you're doing a mobile page layout, you can go to mobile page and you can pick up, you know, what kind of, not mobile phone, but digital web, your computer workstation. So you could do 19 by 20 by 1080 if you want. But if you do for print, which is what is we're doing on the assignment, but if you did want to do the web page layout, then you can choose from the web computer size. If you're doing print, definitely be choosing inches, because print is inches. Web is pixels. And if you notice web, it changes the resolution to 172. And in print, it changes it to 300. So we'll just keep this, let's go to our, let's go recent. Let's do our print. So I'm changing it to 13 by 19. And again, I'm changing it to the 150, and I want it to be transparent, and I want the RGB system, and so forth, and create. And so now, you know, you can create that grid that you want. So remember, under Preferences, on a Mac, it's under usually under File Preferences. On a PC, it's right here under my Edit Preferences. And you can get a grid. So a grid can be lined up to give you inches and subdivisions. And then you can choose, you know, the color that it will be as well. So let me make this visible. Show grid. And so now there's 13, it's 13 inches and 19. And so now this helps you to be able to create your grid. And again, remember, you can begin to start making your grid with being able to make a layer. So if I wanted to start out with my grid having the white lines, you can come here to your marquee and use your white lines like so, like this. Right now I'm in, with the grid here, I'm under fixed sizes. So normal lets you be able to make a layer as such as this. And you can create a layer. Let's create another layer here. And let's get this to be filled. And so I am using my colors over here. So I'm going to go to white. And there's a couple of things you could do. You could use the paint bucket, simply like this, and it will fill it. But you also can come up here to edit and fill. And the foreground will be here, and it will fill. And then the thing to remember, as you can see from the marching ants, that's what will happen because I made that with the marquee here. Control D gets rid of those marching ants, and that's critical. You can't use any other tool if the marching ants are blinking. And sometimes you do not see those marching ants. And that's when you always do Control D, because maybe they're on and I just don't see it. So now, as you can see, I have one layer here. And you can put on the snapping, snap to grid. And you can come over here and you can hover over this to the Alt key. Now I'm going to press down Alt. And as you can see, the cursor changes. And now I can snap this to lock into the grid. Now this one is not really snap there. Now I made it snap to the grid. And then of course, now you see I have 4 layers here. And if I wanted them to be merged, so I don't have all the layers, you simply can come up here to what we say, merge visible. Now merges all the ones that are visible, and now I have the ability to snap, make it alt again, and now I have 4 of them. And so now I'm beginning to get my grids to be made. And again, turn off, make sure, when you have merge visible, you want to be sure layers that you do not want to merge are turned off, right? By the eye there. So now I can merge visible again. And now I have all my grids on. And if I turned off the grid, you would see the lines that we have here. Now, technically, you could do the same thing with the horizontal line, but if you duplicate it, right-click, duplicate, you now can rotate it. Now, how to rotate is a couple of ways to get to it. The shortcut, if you go up to Edit, Transform, Rotate is Control T. Free transform. Where's my free transform? Right up here. Free transform. Control T. So if I'm on that layer that I want to rotate, I could do Control T. Whoop, Control T. And up here, you could say 90. So right up here, you can make it absolutely accurate by typing in this rotating degree that you want, 90. Or you can do it manually, just be sure that you don't have a crooked. Now I have it rotated and I can bring it up. And now I have my grid that I might be wanting to be using. And then again, turn off the verticals. Remember the Alt key can now snap down. Whoops, let's do that again. Alt key, you can change the cursor, mouse down, I'm keeping the cursor on. And now I have the grid on both of them, and now I'm going to merge these. And now I have my horizontals and my verticals. So you have to be thinking about what the tools can do for you so you can work quickly. Any questions? Well, the question that I would have, since I'm looking at my work myself, is you notice I don't have a line over here, right? So that would mean that I really should have, if these are actually the same size, I should have a little bit more of a room. So that's when you like your canvas, when you can come up here to canvas and you can say, I need more room on the right. and this is pixels. So I'll do the width, and I'll see how much I need on that. I'm just going to guess here, and it might be too much. And there you see you can get more on there. And so that's when you want to be able to use, again, I'll do a little bit more. I think it needs, the only way I can see it if I zoom in. See, I need much more space. So again, I'll go to Canvas, keep it to the right, do 190. Oops, let me cancel, I forgot what I was looking at. Canvas, 190, 1990. Pixel width to the right, don't forget that, and then it will give me more space. So now I can be able to add that pixel dimension here, going all the way down, hope I'm not making you dizzy. And I'm just eyeballing it, folks, but you can make this accurate. As you can see, by the pixel dimension, 29 inches is the width. So I could actually measure that 29 inches. And now I'll just fill this. Now I could be looking at what line I want to be on. I want to be on the vertical line. So again, you see everything you have to check. I want to be sure that this line is going to go on a fill with this layer, which is the horizontals, not the horizontals, the verticals. It's on the vertical one. And now I can come up here and just do a fill, and it will fill that. Now with that, and I'm just eyeballing it. I love to eyeball to see how close I get to accuracy. But if this was a commercial job and it was a deliverable, you would have to look at the pixel dimension. But right now I have an excess. So this is when you want to crop it, this tool right here. Let me put you in view. So it gives you the handles on the side. So you can, what I like to do is when I have that, I like to zoom in, put the crop on, and bring it in now like that so it snaps, just like that. And there's two ways to say accept it, either with a check up here, or you can just simply double click. Now I have everything set up to work with this grid if this is the grid I want. Now again, remember the grid can be whatever you want it to be by the inches or the subdivisions, whatever you want. If you want to see both, subdivisions are within the square, but you can make it 2 inches, 3 inches, whatever the grid that you're looking for to be, whether it be for the creative contact sheet that you're doing, or if you're doing sort of a web page design or a magazine layout, whatever your page grid is going to be. And that would be very different sizes. So, but it's always good to start with a grid that is uniform and is the basis for the whole page. And then you can get into the creative rectangles and so forth that you so want. Any questions?